Hello everybody and welcome back to SkySaga Alpha 9. We're over here on the Lumostone Island and it's time for another Tutorial Tuesday. Now, the tutorial is actually going to be all about the little guy that you see standing up behind me. It is a Lumostone Lighthouse. It is also probably the worst lighthouse I have ever built because it is just a simple pillar with some Lumostone on top of it. But as you can see, while we're sitting here, these lights will turn on and off in sequence and it will appear as though it is actually kind of revolving the light around the lighthouse, as you can see here. So this whole system is about having sequential lights built up. Now, these things aren't actually all that hard to build, so we're going to go through and have a quick look at how you do all of this stuff. Now, I've got this guy, which is my full lighthouse, and then I've got another couple of little circuits down here, which are basically doing exactly the same thing. This one, for some reason, has stopped moving, but it should continue to cycle as it goes through. Oh, I have missed a step. That's why it is not cycling. Anyway, we're going to just quickly set that up so that that will cycle as well. Now, there are two variants to this guy. There is a smooth and a jittery version. So the smooth version is this one down here at the end. And as you can see, as one light turns on just before the other light turns off, so that you get both lights on at the same time, which kind of gives a nice smooth transition, as you see there. And it's only just a fraction of a second that both lights are on together and then one of them turns off. So that's the smooth transition. This guy down here is the rough transition, which is where one light turns off completely before the next light turns on, which in some cases is what you want. In other cases, like the lighthouse, it is not what you want. So let's take a quick look at how you actually go about building these things. So in my inventory, we have all of the things that you actually need to get started on this build. So you need Lumostone lights as your output. You can also use doors if you really want to. That is totally up to you. Then per output, you're going to need a delay of your choice. This is going to be the delay that determines how long it is between each successive thing. So my lighthouse over here is set up with 1 second delays, which is what I'm going to show you. The other circuits that we just saw are set up with 5 second delays, so they're a little bit longer. The 1 second delay seemed to work well for the lighthouse because my lighthouse is set up with 8 different branches, and that means that it takes 8 seconds for the light to cycle all the way around the lighthouse, and that seems to work pretty well. So that's your delays. You need one delay of whatever type you want for each of your outputs. For each of your outputs, you also need 2 NOT gates, you need 1 AND gate, and then, so that's for each output, and then to actually get the circuit working, you're also going to need 2 additional AND gates and 3 NOT gates, but these don't scale. You could put more and more and more gates down and you still only need 2 of these and 3 of these extra, but these ones do scale. So for each output you add, you need an output, a delay, 2 NOTs, and an AND, just like this. Now, to do the smooth version, you also need an additional 0.5 second delay for each and every single one of your outputs, just like this. So there we go. That's our full setup of everything we need. This is going to show you how to build this thing so that it triggers automatically as soon as the island loads. This thing will load up and it will just work, and it will just work nicely. Yes, so that's this way around. You can also hook a pressure plate into this, and I will show you where to hook a pressure plate into this at the end when we go through and talk about that. So to start with, we're actually going to put down our very first Lumostone light here. So this is going to be, actually we're going to start down this end. So this is going to be the first light in our output cycle. Now, along with the first light, we need our first delay. And along with our first delay, we need our NOT gates and our AND gate. Now, these guys are making up a falling edge pulse. So what this is all about is what we've done in the past, where when this output turns off, it's going to send a single pulse out through these 2 NOT gates, and we'll get to that in just a second. But first we need to put down our AND gate as well. Our AND gate is just a little bit of insurance against this thing. So very quickly, what we need to do to set this up, so this is the first output. We take the delay and run the delay into the light, because that's where that is going to output to. Actually, sorry, we won't put that into there yet, but what we were going to do is going to take it out of here and place it into both NOT gates, 1 and 2, just like that. Then we run the closest NOT gate into the furthest NOT gate, just like that, and that sets up our little output pulse. Then we're going to run that into the A side of the AND gate, just like that. Now, the reason we're doing this is because these output pulses, these falling edge pulses, will trigger when the island is reset or when the circuit gets reset. And we want to try and safeguard against that, because when these things trigger, they're going to trigger the next thing up the chain, and we don't want, when the island starts, all of the lights to be on all at the same time, because that's going to mean that the cycle is going to have all of the lights cycling around and around and around, and that does not work for what we want to do. So this AND gate is going to be our insurance against that, but we'll get to what that hooks up to in just a second. So this is our first circuit down, so we want to put down our next output, and of course we want to put down our next delay. So we're just going to build the circuit exactly the same way as we've done just now. So we've got the delay, and we've got 2 NOT gates and an AND gate, which we're going to put into these hands. So just like that. So now that we've got those guys, we're going to line this up exactly as we've done before. So delay into both NOT gates, and for some reason I'm getting the sound bug, but that's okay, these things are still connecting. The closest NOT gate into the furthest NOT gate, the furthest NOT gate into the A side of the AND gate, just like that. So you should see these guys are lining up, they're looking exactly identical, and that's perfect, that's exactly what we want. And then of course the third and final for our setup is going to be here. So once again, 1 more delay, 2 more NOT gates, 1 and 2, and the AND gate, which is going to go out the back here. Just like that, beautiful. So now we hook this guy up as well, exactly the same as before. Delay into the NOT gate into the other NOT gate, delay into the other NOT gate, and then of course NOT gate into the A side, just like that. So now we've got 3 exactly identical setups, and these are going to do absolutely nothing right now because they're not really hooked to anything. So the first thing we actually want to do is to hook these all together. So I'm going to take a different color here. I'm going to take my yellow and start hooking these together. So the way we're hooking these together is we take the output of the AND gate and feed it into the next delay down the line. So here you go. So that's this delay goes into that delay. This AND gate goes into that delay. This AND gate here, the second AND gate goes into the third delay, and then the third AND gate feeds all the way back into the first delay, just like that. Now, what you should see here is this is now all interlinked. So that means that when this guy turns off, we're going to get a quick pulse through here, which is going to turn on the next delay. And then when that delay turns off, we're going to get a quick pulse through here. It's going to turn that on. Well, it will in just a second when we actually hook up the last piece of the puzzle for our AND gates. So this is most of the circuit now done. So if you want the rough version of this circuit, you literally just hook your delays directly into your Lumostone outputs, but we're not going to do the rough version, we're going to do the smooth version. So to do the smooth version, you want to put down a 0.5 second delay between your main delay and your output. So if we take that from here, go into there. So now we take our main delay, which is the delay that determines how long the circuit runs for, run it into the 0.5 second, and then run that into our output. And we do that for all of these. Once again, this is only if you want the smooth option. If you don't want the smooth option, you don't have to do this. You can just run the delay straight into your output, but you will get this behavior happening where one turns off first and then the other one turns on, which gives it more of a flickering effect than a smooth moving effect. So there we go. Now this circuit is getting really, really close to actually being finished. So the next things that we want to do, we're actually going to put down our input next. So our input is actually going to be a rising edge pulse. So what we want for that is we want an AND gate and 2 NOT gates. Now the 2 NOT gates are because this back NOT gate that I've just put down here, that is going to provide constant and insistent power, so that's fine. But if you don't want this thing powered or starting to run from the moment that your island turns on, you can replace this with a pressure plate. So you basically want to take your input, which in my case is the NOT gate, but it could be a pressure plate, it's totally up to you, and you run that into the A side of your AND gate and also into the NOT gate that's over there, and then this NOT gate runs into the B side down the bottom here, and then this AND gate runs into the first delay in your sequence. Now, you should see that that's going to turn that on, and that's good. That's what we want to see, because when the system resets, every time you run a Lumostone line, the system is going to reset, and this circuit is going to produce a single pulse, which will turn this delay on, and that's good. That's what we want to see for this guy. Now, the next thing, actually, we're going to break that line really quick, because we don't want this turning on while we're putting the next piece of the puzzle down. So the final piece of the puzzle is actually basically the insurance, as I said before. So we're going to place an AND gate and a single NOT gate down at the back down here, and we're going to run the NOT gate into the AND gate at both A and at B. So the reason we're doing this is when the island resets, or the circuit resets, this AND gate is off for just a fraction of a second. It's off for a minuscule, tiny amount of time, but it is off at the same point that these falling edge clocks are on. So what we can do is we feed this into these AND gates at the back here, and it's going to stop that kind of error pulse from heading through the circuit and turning things on that we don't want on. So we're going to take this guy and input him into the B side of every single AND gate that we have. Just like that. So basically all this does is it stops this thing from propagating errors down the line when a circuit gets reset or when the island gets reset. And that is really important. You absolutely need to have this circuit, and you absolutely need to hook it up all the way through here. So now that we've hooked all of those things up, we can actually hook up the final piece of the puzzle, which is our input. We can take our input and we can hook that right into our 1 second delay, and we should see that now these lights are going to cycle. Bang, 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 and just they're going to keep cycling over and over and over and over and over again. And there you go. That is it. That is how you build this kind of progressive cycling output system, which can of course be built up into a lighthouse. Now, the way I've done the lighthouse is actually pretty simple. So I've just done 8 of these circuits, as you can see here. So it's just 8 of exactly the same circuit that you've just seen. And then I have hooked those up in sequence. So the first circuit, I'm going to quickly change out of here so that you can see what I'm talking about. The first circuit runs into these 4. The second circuit runs into these 2 and these 2, which makes it look like it's in the corner. The third circuit does these 4 in a group. The fourth circuit does the corners in a group. The fifth circuit does this face. Sixth circuit does this corner here, 7th circuit does this one, and the 8th circuit does those 4 in a group. And there you go. That is how you do the lighthouse, or build my lighthouse and my little system. So there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed that one. This little circuit is useful for a whole bunch of things, and as you can see, it is infinitely expandable. You could just keep stacking these things up and up and up and up and up, and just get as many outputs as you possibly want. So yeah, there you go. Go out, build awesome things, and I will see you in the next video.